This is lesson 3-1, solving two-step equations. And the last video we learned how to solve one-step equations, so we're just taking it one step further. The thing to note about one-step equations is that you're always going to add or subtract first. Remember that you're trying to do inverse operations, or the opposite of whatever's happening to your variable. You're trying to undo what's happening to your variable to get it alone. So in this first problem, we can see the two things that are happening to y is, one, it's being divided by 3, and 2, we're adding 5 to it. So those are the two things we want to undo. We want to undo dividing by 3 and undo adding 5. And we always start with adding or subtracting. So the opposite of adding 5 is to subtract 5. And remember that whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side of the equal sign. You have to be fair to both sides of your equation. So we have 13 minus 5, which is 8, equals, bring down your equal sign. We didn't do anything to this y divided by 3, so leave it alone. Plus 5 minus 5, they're additive inverses, so they cancel. Now this is just a one-step problem. What's happening to y? It's y divided by 3. The opposite of dividing by 3 is to multiply both sides times 3. And remember, you have to do the same thing to both sides. 3 times 8 gives us 24. 24 equals y divided by 3 times 3. And remember, it's 3 over 1, and we can cross-cancel these 3's, which just leaves us with y. So 24 equals y. Also note that you can check by plugging 24 in for y. So we have 13 equals 24 divided by 3 plus 5. And then when we're not solving for a variable, we follow PEMDAS. So I have 13 equals, we need to divide before we add. 24 divided by 3 is 8 plus 5. So 13 equals 8 plus 5 is 13. Therefore, the left side does equal the right side, and we've done it correctly. Let's try some quick checks. So again, we just want to solve for a variable. So look at the two things that are happening to y. One, we're multiplying by 2. The other, we're subtracting 3. And keep in mind, we always add or subtract first. That's our first step, add or subtract. So the opposite of subtracting 3 from y would be to add 3 to y. Because again, we're just trying to undo everything that's happening to our variable to get it by itself. So I have negative 3 and positive 3, those cancel. 7 plus 3 is 10. Bring down your equals. We didn't do anything to 2y. Leave it alone. We've already canceled our 3's. And now this is a simple one-step equation. What's happening to y? It's 2 times y. The opposite of multiplying by 2 would be to divide both sides by 2. Again, remember, you have to do whatever you do to both sides to keep it fair. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Bring down your equals. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times y is simply y because of the identity property of multiplication. Again, we can check. 7 equals 2, and this is 2 times y. Y is 5, so 2 times 5 minus 3. And again, when you're not solving for a variable, we follow PEMDAS. Leave that left side alone, and we have to multiply first. 2 times 5 is 10 minus 3. 7 equals 10 minus 3 is 7. Therefore, we solved correctly. Let's look at b now. b is x divided by 9 minus 15 equals 12. So again, we have to undo the two things happening to x. It's being divided by 9, and we're subtracting 15 from it. So start with adding or subtracting. So we're going to add 15 to both sides to undo this subtracting 15. So those cancel. I have x divided by 9. Bring down your equal sign. 12 plus 15 is 27. And now we have to do the opposite of dividing by 9, which is to multiply both sides times 9. And again, do the same thing to both sides. This is 9 over 1. Our 9's cross cancel, and x equals 27 times 9, which you should do off to the side. 9 times 7 is 63. Carry your 6. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 6 is 24. So 243. And you can again check it, of course, by plugging 243 in for x. So I have 243 divided by 9 minus 15 equals 12. Then you can follow PEMDAS since we're not solving for a variable. 243 divided by 9 is 27. minus 15 equals 12. 27 minus 15 is 12, and 12 does equal 12, so we solved correctly. Let's do C now. Again, the two things happening to x. Well, remember that a lot of times there's an imaginary 1, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it back in there. This is really a negative 1 times x plus 15 equals 12. So the first thing I'll always do is to get rid of whatever's being added or subtracted from x. So plus 15, the opposite of that is to subtract 15 from both sides. So I bring down my negative x. Plus 15 minus 15 cancels. Bring down your equal sign. 12 minus 15. Well, obviously the negative number is bigger, so my answer is going to be negative. And I get a negative 3. Now, some of you may think, oh, I'm done. Look, x was all by itself. But really, it isn't. There's still this nasty negative sign attached to it, and we need to get rid of it. So there are a couple different ways we can get rid of a negative on our x. Remember that it is an imaginary little 1 right there, so negative 1x. You can, 1, divide by negative 1 on both sides. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is a positive 1 times x is just x. Negative 3 divided by negative 1 is a positive 3. Or it'll work just as well to multiply both sides times a negative 1. Remember, the multiplication property of negative 1 says that it just changes the sign. A negative 1 times a negative x is a positive x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is a positive 3. So remember, you can do anything you want to an equation as long as you do it to both sides. Either dividing by negative 1 or multiplying by negative 1, you still get x is 3. And then we can check it by substituting it in. So it's negative x, and x is 3, plus 15 equals 12. Negative 3 plus 15, they have different signs, subtract. 15 minus 3 is 12, and 12 does equal 12. So we solved correctly. Example 2. A music store sells a used guitar for $120. This is $25 more than 1/2 the cost of a new guitar of the same brand. What is the cost of a new guitar? So since they're asking us to solve for something, that means there must be something we don't know, and we need to create an equation with it. It says, what is the cost of a new guitar? So that must be what we don't know. Cost of a new guitar. Oh, and look right here, cost of a new guitar. There it is. So we need to come up with a variable for this cost of a new guitar. And to me, cost goes well with C. So I'm going to use C for the cost of a new guitar. Since it says what is that, we don't know it. If we don't know it, it's a variable. Now I'm going to use my word problem to set up my equation. A music store sells a used guitar for $120. So I have $120. This is. So what is $120? Is. What is in math? Our equal sign. So here's my equals. $25 more than half C. What does more than tell you to do? Add. But it also tells you to switch what's on the left side and what's on the right side. So I'm not starting with $25. I'm going to start with half C. Because they could have said half of the cost, and we know of means multiply. So we're doing 1/2 times C plus 25. And there's our equation. Now that we found our equation, we're going to solve it just like we did all those problems in example 1. So you know we start by adding or subtracting. So the opposite of adding 25 would be to subtract 25 from both sides. 120 minus 25, 95. Bring down your equal sign. 1/2 C plus 25 minus 25. Additive inverses, they cancel. What's the opposite of half C? Well, again, you're thinking, oh, it's 1/2 times C, so I have to divide by 1/2. But remember, we can't divide fractions. So instead of dividing, we copy, change, flip. 1/2 times 2 over 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So remember, anytime you have a fraction times your variable, you always multiply by the reciprocal. 2 times 95. 2 times 90 is 180. 2 times 5 is 10, so that's 190 equals, and then again, we can cross cancel. 2 times 1 is 2, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, or you can just cross cancel, and you end up with just C. So what's the cost of a new guitar? $190. Let's look at another word problem. You order iris bulbs from a catalog. Iris bulbs cost 90 cents each. The shipping charge is $2.50. If you have $18.50 to spend, how many iris bulbs can you order? So remember, the question tells you your variable. How many iris bulbs can you order? So our variable is going to be, you can use I, you can use B, I'll use I, and it's the number of iris bulbs because they asked how many can you order. So it's our number of iris bulbs is our variable. And it says iris bulbs cost 90 cents each. So each tells us to multiply. And we're multiplying the 90 cents times however many iris bulbs we buy, because it says the iris bulbs are 90 cents each. So it's 90 cents times the number of iris bulbs. The shipping charge is $2.50, so this is important, that's important. And that's just no matter what, no matter how many you buy, you're going to pay the $2.50. You have $18.50. So that means everything you spend has to add up to $18.50. So what am I spending? I'm spending $2.50 and 90 cents for every iris bulb I buy. And that can't be any more than $18.50. And again, we're just going to solve. So we start by adding or subtracting. The opposite of $2.50 would be to subtract $2.50 from both sides. We always have to do both sides of the equal sign. $2.50 minus $2.50, those cancel. Bring down your 90, or 9/10 or 90/100 I equals $18.50 minus $2.50, just leaves us with 16. And then we have to divide both sides by 90/100. So 90/100 divided by 90/100 is 1, which leaves us with I. I equals 16 divided by 90/100. Let's see. So we can go off to the side to do this. 16 divided by 90/100. So we got to get rid of the decimal, so we do it one place. Do the same thing here. So we get 160. 9 goes into 160. How many times? 9 goes into 16 one time. 9 times 1 is 9. Subtracting, you get 7. Bring down the 0. 9 goes into 77 times. 9 times 7 is 63. Subtracting, you get 7. Add your decimal. Add your decimal. Add a 0. Bring it down. So again, 9 goes into 77 times, and you can tell now it's just going to keep repeating this 7. So it's 17 7/10 repeating. Can I order 17 7/10 repeating iris bulbs, though? If I called up a company and said, I want 17 7/10 repeating iris bulbs, I think they would just laugh at me. So usually here we say, oh, we'll just, round up. But can I round up? Can I afford to buy 18? No, I can only afford 17 7/10. I don't have enough money. I only have $18.50. So I don't have enough money for 18. So instead, how many iris bulbs can I order? 17 iris bulbs. You have to round down here. We can't buy more than 17. We don't have the money. All right, example 4. We're solving 8 equals C divided by 24 plus 4, and we have to justify each step. So here we're just going to use our addition property of equality, subtraction property of equality, multiplication property of equality, and division property of equality. So what do we do first? Well, we always add or subtract first. So the opposite of plus 4 is to subtract 4 from both sides. And what property tells me I can subtract 4 from both sides? The subtraction property of equality. So when we subtract, 8 minus 4 is 4. Bring down your equals. We didn't do anything to C divided by 24. Plus 4 minus 4 cancels. And so all we did here was we simplified. We're justifying our steps. So we're giving the reason for why we're doing everything. Next, we have to The opposite of dividing by 24 is to multiply both sides by 24. And we have 24 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus 1 is 9. 96. 96. Bring down your equal sign. 24 over 1. So these cross cancel and we're left with C. So here this step would be the multiplication property, just abbreviating it, of equality. That's an equal sign, equality. And again, we simplified to get this very last step. So let's try one more where we solve and justify all of our steps. Again, we always add or subtract first. The opposite of a negative 9 would be to add 9 to both sides. And that's the addition property of equality, because we added the same exact thing to both sides. Negative 9 plus 9 cancels. Be careful here. Notice that this is a negative 4m. This term is negative. It has a subtraction sign in front of it, so it's negative. Negative 4m, bring down your equal sign. 3 plus 9 is 12. And so all we did here was to simplify. And then what's the opposite of negative 4 times m? We have to divide both sides by negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. 1 times m is just m, equals 12 divided by negative 4, negative 3. Positive divided by a negative gives me a negative. So here we use the division property of equality. And finally, we just simplified again. All right, that's it for 3-1. Yep, and there's your homework if you didn't write it down. Good luck.